Good afternoon. This is Father David Wooten coming back to you from St. Anthony's Orthodox Church. We continue to move through our Lenten season. Yesterday was the Feast of the Annunciation, and we attempted to live stream our service on Facebook, and for one reason or another it was cut off towards the beginning of the service. And so I thought, well, that's very disappointing. We're here on the day after, and we commemorate the Archangel Gabriel. And you can see here in the doors of many Orthodox churches, you'll have this very scene. The Archangel Gabriel announcing to the Theotokos, the God-bearer, Mary, the Mother of God, that she is going to be the one to bear Christ in her womb. And as it so happens this year, the day of the Annunciation, Wednesday, in the middle of the Lenten fast, we reached yesterday the midpoint. And we are now on the sort of downhill. We talk about flattening curves. We are on the downhill slope of Lent now. But it is during this week that we still have the cross from Sunday placed out in front alongside the icon of the Annunciation. And we remember that this is what that babe who would be in her womb was born for. Was born to be sacrificed as a lamb, as a sacrifice, his life given for the life of this world. So I thought that I would simply provide, as best I could, my thoughts from last night on this feast and where we are. She received her message that she would be the one to bear the Son of God into the world. And so many things would follow that, miracles. She would go to her cousin Elizabeth, who herself was miraculously pregnant at the time. And she would Elizabeth would experience the leap for joy in her womb of St. John the Baptist as an unborn child, recognizing that Christ and his mother, God's promised one, had come to her. It would be a time of great joy. In the midst of Joseph not being sure to, if he was going to marry her or put her away because of the risk in those days of being an unwed mother, she finally found solace. She found someone to accept her, love her, shelter her. And it was exciting. They could rejoice at these two new lives that were growing in the womb, even in the midst of having to keep Mary's pregnancy a secret. And yet, of course, having never had or born a child myself, I've witnessed my wife's 4 pregnancies, and hopefully she would say I've helped her as she struggled through them to bring children into the world. I've sat with many women as they've gone through the cycle of pregnancy and birth. And there is that excitement in the beginning. Towards the end, however, let's just say women are ready for the child to be there. And there's this long period of waiting. There's this long period of day in, day out, eating for 2, discomfort. And I noted last night that, with our current situation, sort of like Mary, the Mother of God, though for far less incredible a reason, we are also in hiding of sorts. She, in order to protect the life of the world within her womb, we are seeking to protect the lives of the most vulnerable, of our medical workers, of the doctors in our midst. And how to do that, how long to do that is a question that we are all wrestling with right now. And at the beginning, I know many people, some in my own family, took to social media in the first days of a lockdown and said, well, what can we do? Where can we go? And this cause and that, need that can be met. And people would make things and bring things over, and there was a sense of importance, of pride, that we're doing something. As long as we're going to be not at work, as long as we're going to be at home, let's do something to do our part, to contribute to the recovery. And now getting into sort of the end of one week, end of another week, we could start to feel a little bit like, all right, I'm ready for this to be over. God forbid, of course, folks in other parts of the world had to wait for a much longer time. But in the midst of our waiting, we can remember two things, given the example of the Mother of God. Number one, that waiting does not mean inactivity. Waiting does not mean inactivity. In fact, it could very well mean the routines of daily life. The routines of daily life. Because she had to eat for two. She had to care for him. She had to be aware every day of how she went outside. Was she going to give something away about her state? What about the rumors? She had to take precautions, given the laws of society around her. But she did it day in, day out. The second thing would be that, as she did this, there was always the remembrance of the words of the angel, that she was the highly favored one, that what was within her is the Holy One of God, that she was in God's eyes. She was in his mind. He was caring for her. And so I would remind us of these two things. That, as I often say, the thing about life is that it's just so daily. And many of us have very unusual things that have been dropped in our laps at this time. We have to scrounge around to save our businesses. We have to have difficult conversations with employers and employees, with banks, with medical workers. Supplies are running low, and these things have to be addressed almost on a daily basis. But I would urge you to maintain as much of a daily routine as you possibly can. Include in those things prayer in the morning and prayer in the evening. That you mark your days with God. As you go about everything else, as you tend to the things that need to be tended to, day in, day out, that you mark with a routine of prayer and trust in God, even as the Theotokos trusted day in and day out in the God of Israel. That you spend time with family, that you keep in touch, perhaps call one person every day in your family. To spend time with those around you, maybe those that you're stuck at home with. Spend some time going outside as best you can. Exercise physically. Keep yourself going. And have the courage to do this day in and day out, even as many things seem to be changing all the time. But finally, as you do this, as you tend to all of the new things and seek to keep yourself in a routine, as we wait, as we seek to wait for the sake of nourishing other people, let us not forget that we are not forgotten by God. Our lives may change dramatically in the days and weeks to come. Our country may change, or there may be an alleviation. We simply don't know with all of the information that's coming, as we're tempted to lose ourselves in this report or that newscast. There's so much information, I know I don't know what to make of it all, as much as I try to keep on top of things and what's happening in the Senate and the House and everything else. But I have to remember that, as it says in Hebrews chapter 12, that God is not above shaking the kingdoms of this world. Things may be shaken and then yet again shaken. But we must remember that we are citizens of a kingdom that ultimately will never be shaken. We may have to learn to hold many things with an open hand, for many things may be taken from us. But let us remember what is truly lasting. The same one that was in the womb of a little Jewish girl. The same one that would be born, that would heal, that would die, that would suffer. Let us understand that this one went through those processes that all flesh must go through. And he did so to show us that not even those things can keep us ultimately down. That there will be a resurrection, there will be a healing, there will be a restoration. But let us ask his Holy Mother for her prayers, for her help, for the strength to wait and work and love and trust, so that as we follow Christ, we could do so as little Marys, giving ourselves over not to any one man, not to any political party, as she gave herself over to no man. She gave herself to God. Let us remember ultimately that our trust is in God. We are citizens of heaven, and through the prayers of all his saints and his Immaculate Mother, we can continue to love God and love our neighbor as ourselves. And nothing in this world, brothers and sisters, can keep us from saying thank you to God and glory to his name. The Father, who is without beginning, the all-holy and good and life-creating Spirit, who reigned forever with that only begotten Son of God, who was born of her virginal womb, the Son of God becoming the Son of the Virgin for our salvation. To the all-holy Trinity be all glory, honor, and worship, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen.